Hi everyone, my name is Lamarana. Welcome to the Halal Africa Show. Thank you very much for being there with me. I know you guys haven't seen me for close to 2 months. I've been very busy, with schoolwork, so this is why I've decided to take a leave. But like they say, urgent issues must be addressed urgently. So I am here again today to talk to you about issues happening in the Gambia with regards to land. And in this particular video that I'm doing today, I'm going to talk about an incident that just happened a few days ago in the Gambia in a small community called Tranquil in the Brufut Area.
Uncertainty has returned to Tranquil. Scores of people living in this small town near Brufut have over the years been on a knife edge as a huge row over a vast piece of land continues to rage. The land is being claimed by a white man who is said to have acquired it many decades ago for agricultural purposes. But somehow people who lived here acquired plots of land and built their houses on them.
I bought my land here. It's almost about starting from 2005. Try to develop it. During the process, I discovered that there is a problem happening in this area, and the previous government, we have already informed them, the former government, and they brought us together to the police headquarters. We talked to the police. They did their investigation about the whole issue. How do we acquire our lands? And they did their investigation. The police talked to us, and they report the matter to the president, and the president created a panel. So, and the panel did their investigation, report back to him, and they decide to give us our lands back. This is the time, we start to do our developments. So, as long as this new government comes into power, I was not here at this time. I was in Europe. I was informed that these people came here, and
actually, what happened? This issue was broadcasted by the Fatu Network. What they showed was there was an eviction notice that came from, I think, the High Court of the Gambia, trying to evict 22 families, 22 to about 25 families around the Tranquil area. It is said that that particular land where the Gambians are currently living on belongs to a white person. I don't know whether he's from Britain or any other European country. So this man bought this land many years ago, and I don't know, for whatever reason, some of these Gambians were also able to buy same land and then start developing those lands. And I think the white person came back to claim those lands, and the issue was forwarded to the then government, and then the former president of the Gambia decided that he is going to compensate this white man with land at a different location. But the white man refused, and what the president told him was, I cannot evict my people from their land and then allocate this entire portion to you alone. So I think in the end, the white man was deported back to his country. I've talked about land grabbing in the Gambia in my previous videos. I've also talked about who is benefiting from the Gambia. I think it is very important for us to know that the most important asset in any country, first is the people, and second is the land. Gambia is a very small country, and for the past few years we've been having problems with land issues, and it has been made worse under this present government. There's land issues, here and there between Gambians themselves, and then between Gambians and outsiders, immigrants or foreigners for that matter. My problem here is the role of the government is to protect the interests of their citizens. How can we allow a white person to come into our country, buy a huge plot of land? Because in the first place, if I'm right, what I've heard from people is that an immigrant cannot own a land which is more than 50 by 50 square meters. Now we're talking about somebody buying hectares of land. For what purposes? And the blame should first go to our Gambian brothers and our sisters. We are enabling foreigners to come to our country, grab these lands at our expense. Because when they first come in, they have their Gambian host who is taking them around. We even have some Gambians who will buy this land in their name and later transfer it to these immigrants. Who are you serving? Whose interests are you serving? But this all boils down to corruption and greed. Because all you want to do is to make money for yourself and that of your family, but you don't care the greater damage that it is going to cause to the people of the Gambia. So I think we as a people need to really think critically and start making sure that all the lands that are in the Gambia first go to Gambian people. It should belong to the Gambian people. Because Gambia is for Gambians. We have to understand that our country is so small. And with the trend that we are going, if we are not careful, a lot of Gambians in the near future will be homeless in their own countries. And if that should happen, that is going to threaten the peace and stability of our country. You cannot allow immigrants or foreigners or outsiders to own the bigger chunk of land in our country. It doesn't happen anywhere. It is the responsibility of the government. It is responsibility of the citizens of the Gambia to make sure that the lands in the Gambia belong to Gambians. It should benefit Gambians first. And we have seen the past 4 years the amount of land grabbing that is taking place in our country. People are coming from everywhere, grabbing lands at our expense. And who are we talking about here? We're talking about Chinese people buying hectares of land. We're talking about white people buying hectares of land. We're talking about non-Lebanese Gambians. We know that we have some Gambians who are Lebanese who have been living in the Gambia for the past 100 years or so. We have no problem with those people. But we are having Lebanese coming to Gambia, buying kilometers of land, Chinese buying kilometers of land, white people buying kilometers of land. And we have to understand one thing. These immigrants, once they buy these lands, they lease it. They go back to their country, they make sure that their governments know about it. Because perhaps with this issue with this white person, he is going to put pressure on his foreign ministry to make sure that they exert pressure on the Gambian government so that he or she can get the land. Because the Europeans will always try to protect the interests of their citizens wherever they are in the world. So therefore, it is the state's responsibility, the government of the Gambia's responsibility to protect the interests of Gambians when it comes to owning land. I think what we need to do is, it has to be radical. We need to stop selling land to non-Gambians, especially people who are not blacks. We know that there is a movement of African diaspora moving back to Africa, moving to the Gambia in particular. We don't have a problem with those people owning land. If you want 50 by 50 square meters of land for you to settle, build your home, we don't have a problem with that. You can buy that. But one person buying hectares of land or kilometers of land, for what purpose? We should not allow that. It doesn't matter who it is. And we Gambians, we the landowners, we have to be very careful here. It doesn't matter whether you're poor or what. Land is the most important asset that you have. Look, we need to sensitize our people. If an immigrant comes to you, a foreigner or an outsider comes to you and then tells you that they want to buy a piece of land for agricultural purposes, don't sell the land to them. Go into a lease agreement. Lease the piece of land to them for 20 years whatsoever. At the end of the 20 years, the land comes back to you. Whatever development is done on that land belongs to you. Because within the 20 years, whatever the person leases the land to you, they will be able to recover that money they have spent and even make profit on that. But it is the responsibility of our government to sensitize our people. It is the responsibility of our civil societies in the Gambia to sensitize our people, to make them understand that they should not sell their land for chicken change, because what the few hundreds of dollars they bring into you, or $3,000-4,000 of land, you giving them an entire village, doesn't make sense, because they are looking out for their interests. They will come here and tell you all the sweet things that you want to hear, but at the end of the day, they are being selfish. All they're looking for is their interest. Where would you go as an immigrant? We Gambians are outside in other countries. Yes, you can buy a piece of plot, a home, and settle. But if you want to buy those big, massive plot of land, you cannot do that here in America. You cannot do that in Europe. You cannot do that in China. China, you cannot even register a business in your own name as an African, much more something else. So we have to be selfish when it comes to these things. And for me personally, I don't care. I mean, people can say whatever they want to say, but I'm going to stick out for my people. What is wrong is wrong. Gambians, we are the problem first. We are the people who are betraying the rest of the country. We have people at the lands department, land and survey. An immigrant comes and then tells you, I have bought 3 hectares or 4 hectares of land somewhere in the Gambia. That would be a red flag. But because you sit in that office, they give you $100 or $200, you shut your mouth up, and then you allow the transaction, the land transfer, to take place. You make it legal. And once you make it legal, it's very difficult for us to fight the case, because we have laws in the Gambia. If Gambians are enabling outsiders to legally own land in the Gambia, it is going to be very difficult for us to go back to that same court to seek for justice, because we know in the first place the way it happened, the way that land transfer happened was wrong. It is not right. In this Tranquil section of the Gambia in Brufut Area, people spend millions of dollars to build their homes. In the video you're going to see, this is a nice, beautiful environment. People work hard. They spend their hard-earned money to build these homes. They've lived there for the past 10, 12, 15 years. And all of a sudden, this white person who has been deported from the Gambia comes back, because now we have a democratically elected government, and then want to evict our Gambian families who are residing in Tranquil. And it is our law enforcement officers who are sent to go and evict this family. We're talking about common sense here, brothers. I know you are there to enforce the laws. You are there to enforce the verdict of the court. But there are certain things, man, before you do it, you have to think rationally. I saw the sheriff guy who came, I forget his name. I knew him when I was working with lawyer Antuman Gay. I knew him. And I am so ashamed to see that, he is part and parcel of the people who are trying to evict these 22 families from here. And to you, Mr. Barry, who is a friend to that white person, that you should be ashamed of yourself. You are enabling an outsider to evict, to bring trauma, suffering, and pain to 22 families who have spent their hard-earned money to build a beautiful home for themselves. If that white man wants, they can give him another place, but this place here in Tranquil, Gambians are leaving their families, they are going to remain there. And if you want to force them, to evict them forcefully, we will protest. And like the other person said, they are willing to die, but they are not going to leave this place, because it is nonsense, it's idiotic, it's foolish, it's bullshit. It should not happen. I mean, we're tired of this nonsense. We are tired. Other countries like in Tanzania, once you're an immigrant, you cannot own a land. We don't want to go to that extreme. But if that is what we need to do to protect the interests of Gambians, we should do it. I live in foreign, and whatever Americans or the American government does to protect the interests of Americans, I will never frown over it, because in the first place, I'm not an American. I'm a Gambian. And I'm going to be proud of Gambia. And if I see a similar thing happening in my country, I would not like it. Gambia belongs to Gambians. First, it doesn't belong to Senegalese, it doesn't belong to Ivorians, it doesn't belong to Nigerians. It belongs to Gambians first. And then the interests of Gambians must be served first. But there are other nonsensical people who they hate to hear such things. Gambians will be supporting non-Gambians. We've seen this happen over and over again. You go to our fishing sector, Gambians are being neglected. We are not benefiting from all of these resources. I mean, it is pathetic, definitely. So we will try our best. Any Gambian who is a YouTuber or a content creator out there, we should spread the message. We should try in our own little ways to sensitize our people. And we should reach out to other bigger media platforms in the Gambia to engage them so that we can spread this message. We should also engage our government officials. We should engage the Minister of Lands and Local Government Affairs in the Gambia. We should also engage our parliamentarians. I think it is time for us to have this land reform in the country. I know currently they are, they are enacting the laws to have a land reform, a concrete land reform in the country that will protect the interests of Gambians. Until then, we should continue speaking, making sure that interests of the Gambians is protected. With that, I come to the end of this video. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment. And let's continue with this conversation. And peace out. I'll see you another time.